Hey everyone, today we're going to be talking about the 2026 Texas Senate race, specifically the Democratic primary race here today. But I also wanted to dive a little bit deeper into what a potential matchup could be and what that could mean both for Democrats and Republicans going into the November election to elect Texas's next United States Senator. So I want to start with the news out today that in a recent poll, Jasmine Crockett is up by 8 points, and this is the most recent poll in this race now. So she is now beating, according to this poll at least, she is now beating James Tallarico by roughly 8 percentage points. I also want to point out that there was another poll done. The last poll, the poll before this anyway, also had Jasmine Crockett leading, but by a much slimmer margin of just 1 percentage point. So we've seen this kind of go back and forth. You can see Tallarico back in October which at that point, I should note too that Jasmine Crockett was not in this race. But if we look deeper into this, and we can see Tallarico led an Emerson College poll earlier in January, but it's just important to note how important this could be depending on who's the candidate in this race. And for that, I want to take a look at this 2026 race. We know that John Cornyn is the incumbent senator. He's running for re-election, but he's having a tough time facing two primary challengers from Representative Wesley Hunt and the Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton. Both of these candidates have their own unique campaign styles. But I'll be honest, from what I understand from Republicans and what I understand from Democrats, the Republicans would much rather have John Cornyn or Wesley Hunt even maybe run in this race than somebody like Ken Paxton. For a lot of Republicans, they are concerned of what Ken Paxton's race would mean with him at the top, on the ticket for Republicans. I'm sorry about that. They're concerned about that, and Democrats love the opportunity to run against someone like Ken Paxton. He's not a traditional moderate Republican like some would argue John Cornyn is, and that makes this race a lot more interesting coming into the November elections, where if Ken Paxton wins the primary, he faces either James Tallarico or Jasmine Crockett. According to the recent polls, it may be more likely than not that it's Jasmine Crockett. And what this race means depending on who the Democratic nominee is and who the Republican nominee is. I'll be honest and straightforward. I think that Ken Paxton is the worst GOP nominee among the three. I think that if the GOP nominates Ken Paxton, they're going to have the lowest victory margin if they end up winning in this race. And I say that because of Ken Paxton's history, the way that he handles himself, and I just don't believe that he's the best candidate in the election year of 2026 when we know what this means. We know when Donald Trump is not on the ballot, but that he is facing a midterm election, that Texas is close. And we've seen this back in 2018. Ted Cruz only winning Texas by 2.6%. Remind you, Donald Trump in 2024 won the state of Texas by a huge margin of 13.7%. If we backdate this to 2016, Trump won it by 9 points. So he outperformed in 2024. That's exceptionally important as well. But I don't think that it's necessarily going to have a huge impact on how big Trump's margin was in 2024 versus 2016 on how this race turns out for the Democrats or the Republicans in 2026. I think it's all going to come down to who the Democrats and who the Republicans decide to nominate. And I point this out because Jasmine Crockett is someone who has made her presence known in Democratic politics. In fact, her campaign announcement video was simply Donald Trump talking bad about her. That was all that she did for her campaign announcement video. And it's really resonated with a lot of voters, and a lot of people believe that she's the person to take on someone like Ken Paxton or even John Cornyn in the November election. Remind you that Texas has done redistricting, mid-decade redistricting, so they've kind of put Crockett out of her seat. So I think more or less this is a retaliation effort for Crockett to be able to say, well, you took away my seat, but I'm going to try and take a Senate seat away from you in the state of Texas. But I'm going to point out straightforward and honest and open about this. I think that James Tallarico is the candidate to beat in the November elections. I think Jasmine Crockett, while, she certainly brings her own base to the conversation in Democratic politics, I don't believe that she's the candidate that Democrats need to nominate if they really want the best shot at winning this race, which they do. In order to have a shot at winning the Senate majority, we know that this race is fundamental. I mean, Republicans currently have 53 seats in the United States Senate. They have to flip 4 seats in order to gain control. It's not impossible by any stretch of the imagination, but it's important to mention that that's what they have to do if they want to win in November. So, of course, Texas is important. Alaska is even important. Ohio is important. Maine, is important, and North Carolina is important. And while we're seeing some really great candidates come into the mix for Democrats in other races, such as North Carolina with Governor Roy Cooper, who announced, I believe it was like August of 2025 that he announced. Don't quote me. But we're also seeing people like Graham Plattner and Governor Janet Mills in Maine. We're seeing former Senator Sherrod Brown run in Ohio, former Congresswoman Mary Peltola run in Alaska. Democrats have an opportunity here. And Texas plays into this. While, many are going to sit here and argue that Texas is a long shot for Democrats in this race, I'd have to agree. I mean, you can't sit here and say that a state that... let me go back to the presidential cycle, that went to Donald Trump by 13.7% is just going to flip overnight. And that's not my assessment either. I think it's certainly a hard campaign for Democrats here. Is it impossible? Absolutely not. But it's certainly more difficult. And certain candidates make it that much more difficult for Democrats to perform well in this race. So with that noted, I also want to pay attention to a Texas special election that happened just over, I believe, a week ago now, where a Republican, I want to say plus 17 state, I don't have it pulled up, and that's my apologies for not, a Republican plus 17 state. Trump won this district in the state Senate by 17 points, I believe. Democrats come and flip it and win it by, I want to say it was around 13 percentage points. And that's fundamental. While there's certainly arguments to be had about special elections and how much their impact is on American politics and how much their impact is really on the state of Texas going into November, it's certainly worth noting that Democrats have been able to bring out voters who are energized and ready to vote against Republicans. And they've done a fantastic job at being able to do that. And I want to, make note of that and certainly say, like a lot of people after that happened, this race really got that much more spotlight. I mean, it was already getting spotlight because it's one of the key Democratic races, even though it's a long shot, for Democrats to win the majority. So people are paying attention to it. And Jasmine Crockett and James Tallarico are facing off in this primary race that's going to happen in early March. And while I'm talking about that too, I should also make a quick note that Congressman Wesley Hunt and Senator John Cornyn and Attorney General Paxton are all going to face off in a primary in early March as well. Most people at this point, from my understanding, are saying that it's very likely that this goes into a runoff race. And from what I know about the race thus far, which I can make a full video on the Republican primary in the Texas Senate race if you all want me to. I know I've talked mostly about Democrats in this race, or in this video. But I can certainly make that if that's something that you all want me to do. And if so, let me know in the comments below. But just real quick, I think at this point it's very likely for that to happen. So, these 3 will face off, and then 2 will proceed to a runoff race if that's the case. But to close out this video, I want to re-emphasize my point that Jasmine Crockett's leading in many polls, but I think that if we really if we really go into the general election here and see John Cornyn versus Jasmine Crockett, Ken Paxton versus Jasmine Crockett, we see John Cornyn being able to beat both. Let's see. Yes, John Cornyn versus Tallarico and versus Jasmine Crockett. He's able to poll better than Ken Paxton or looks like even Wesley Hunt in most circumstances. Against Jasmine Crockett and James Tallarico. So certainly for Republicans, the best candidate looks to be John Cornyn. Certainly not Ken Paxton, I can tell you that much. But like in an Emerson College poll against Ken Paxton and Jasmine Crockett, because at this point, that's what it looks like to be. I mean, according to the article here, Crockett and Paxton are both leading in their respective primaries for Texas Senate race. And, you know, Emerson College has this race tied. University of Houston has Paxton up by 2 points. I mean, obviously within margin of error, of course, as well. But these are important points to make note of, because if we go down to Ken Paxton versus James Tallarico, we see what I would argue is somewhat of a closer race here. Of course, I know everyone has their own opinion about this, and I'd love to know your opinion down in the comments below. Thank you guys so much for watching today's video. This race is really going to heat up. We're going to talk about it more as we head into November. I look forward to discussing it with you, analyzing some of the key aspects of this race, who the respective party nominees are going to be, etc. And I look forward to talking to you all about that as well. I also want to close out this video by saying I'm super sorry that I have not posted more on this channel, and I know every time I come back I say I'm going to post more, but I'm really going to try my best to do it. Again, thank you guys so much for watching today's video. I look forward to talking to you guys again soon.